And action.
Well, hi guys, I'm being Phil today. Well, in this video, we answer your top 10 questions about what it's like living on the road. From how do you poo, to how much does it cost, and everything in between. We're going to give you some really honest insight into what our life is like. Hope you enjoy. Oh, let's go.
That was a rubbish, mate. That was rubbish.
I thought it was pretty good.
Okay, let's go. We're the Gapticators, Phil and Izzy. In 2018, we sold our house and all our possessions for life on the road. Since then, we've been exploring Europe and Asia by motorhome, and now in our truck Tonka. Join us on our travels as we endeavour to explore the world, and for those weekly updates, please consider liking, subscribing and hitting that bell notification. But enough of me talking, let's get on the road. But that's the thing, if you gotta go, you gotta go. So.
Yeah, I don't know why people are so interested in pooing and how we poo.
Right, first question is over to Izzy, because she loves to talk.
How do we poo? People want to know how we poo. We always say, well, we poo just like everybody else, obviously. It's a lesson when you first start travelling, that whole thing of depositing your bodily fluids into a little box. Particularly when that little box is a foot away from your other half. It's a bit strange.
Yeah.
We do actually have a poo song that we put on when one of us wants to go. We play the same tune every time.
Yeah, look, you know, it's a thing within van life. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're in a camper van, a motorhome, a truck, you know, we all have to poo and we all have to wee. And so I think especially if you're full time, you just got to accept that very quickly.
Yeah.
That, you know, it's just a fact of life and you got to deal with it.
Yeah.
So
there's been a couple of standout moments as we've in our motorhome career.
I have no idea what Izzy's going to say at this point in time.
The first time that we thought that we could just manage, the red light was on, but we thought we'd be able to manage overnight. And then when Phil pulled out the cassette the next morning, the whole lot sort of dribbled all over his feet and his sandals.
It was beyond brimming.
Yeah, that was a moment. And then
you only do that once.
Yeah. And there was another moment when we were, I think we were in Tarifa, and there was a queue of people behind you waiting to empty their cassettes, and Phil had to poke the contents of ours down a hole with a stick because it wouldn't fit.
It happens.
So yeah, but it happens to everybody, I'm sure. So yeah, we poo just like normal people.
I think the bigger question is it's about within the close proximity. So if you're in a tin box and you need to go, you know, some people say, oh yeah, there's no way I could do that. The bottom line is, if you have to go, you have to go. And sometimes, you know, it's imminent. So
just as well might come out in little parcels tied up with bows.
Absolutely. Right, the next question number 2, which is probably a bigger question in reality.
Yes.
And something that the people in a roundabout way, sometimes people are very direct, sometimes people are, you know, skirt around the edge and say, basically, how do you afford it? How much does it cost?
Yeah.
Especially to full time. And the reality is, to give you a figure, it costs, and we've been doing this for 4 years, it costs between 18 and 20,000 a year.
Pounds.
Now, I would say that's everything. So that's factoring in your running cost for your vehicle, all your insurance, your ferries, your campsites, your...
I would say, as a rule, if you do a mix of campsites and some off-grid camping, you can probably live on about £1,000 a month. But it's all those annual costs like insurance, breakdown cover, maybe getting back to the UK to see family and friends once a year, you know, replacing clothes and trainers and things like that. All those things add up and add on to that £1,000 a month that you can probably live on. And so we've sort of tracked it. It's a bit cheaper some years, depending on where we are.
There's a number of factors in this as well. Depends on the country you're in.
Yes.
So if you go to Scandinavia, you know, Iceland's a really good example. We've actually delayed our Iceland trip, which was going to be next year, because of the cost of fuel. We're in the truck, so obviously there's a really big factor there for us. And the cost of ferries, you know, everything's gone up. So we've actually delayed that. Some countries, we're in Georgia at the moment, it's, you know, somewhat cheaper. I wouldn't say it's like super cheap, but it is cheaper than Western Europe.
It If you're interested, there is a post on the blog that's about the typical costs broken down weekly, monthly, and annually of living in a motorhome for a year. And we'll put the link in the description below the video.
God, okay. I've got to wear my glasses because I am blind. Right, point number 3 is...
How have you not killed each other? I think the question is.
I nearly said something else. I was thinking how to phrase it, and it's very true. I think within the community, people laugh about it because it's a thing, you know, and certainly for us, I think when we first come away, yeah, it was great. You know, we left at the end of June. We went into France. The sun was shining. We're drinking wine. It was, you know, unquestionably we had a honeymoon period, and we had a lot of fun, and it was great. And then suddenly, the clocks changed. The weather, we had a big storm come in all in one weekend, and it was a real reality check. It was like, oh right. So suddenly it's getting dark at, like, you know, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the evening. Suddenly it becomes, you know, a short day, and you think, wow, what, you know. And
you feel much more confined to the van. We'd spent, you know, the whole day into the evening outside, and suddenly we were stuck inside. Yeah. We had some pretty major rows. I think about the decision to do what we were doing, and how it felt. But you learn, because if you want to keep going, you have to learn to sort of tolerate each other. But I think that probably the biggest thing that we did that helped us to get through that period was to develop our own interests and get some purpose in life. So Phil learnt to kite surf over that winter. He would go off and hike and cycle, and I started the blog. And so we ended up having sort of days that felt more normal, where you'd spend some time apart and then you'd come together at the end of that day and talk about the day, and that felt better to us. Yeah, so again, you know, everyone's circumstances are different. To put it into some context, Izzy was away sort of Monday to Friday, sort of most weeks. Certainly spent sort of 3 or 4 nights away. We'd always have the weekends together, so that was great. So that was like a little sort of mini honeymoon period at the end of every week, and that was great. And so any little annoyances or anything that you sort of, you know, that might have sort of sparked an argument, you know, you sort of just put to one side. But when you're on the road and you're in a confined space, it accentuates that annoyance or that little trait or that issue, and it becomes a thing. And we've had some absolute humdinger arguments. There's no denying it. I think, you know, people would be lying if they said they didn't have arguments on the road. There was one that particularly memorable argument where I decided to strop off afterwards and go for a walk, and I ended up getting lost, and I had to ring Phil to come and find me because I didn't know how to get back to the van. How humiliating was that? Yeah, Phil loved it. And you sort of learn that those things, they're just not worth it. I would also say that when you're together 24/7 as we are now, you learn to recognise those little signs. And I put my hand up. If I've had a bad night's sleep, if we've had barking dogs and I've just had a lousy night's sleep, I am like a bear. I just go a bit quieter. I just, you know, I'm maybe not as tolerant. And I think Izzy recognises that now. And so sometimes, you know, equally, I can just sense there's just something. Izzy's just having one of those bitch days. Well, I've been through most of the menopause while we've been on the road. Yep, the M word. The M word. And that has definitely had an effect. But we're, you know, through the other side of that now. Yeah, move on quickly. I think, well, just before we move on to the next question, I do want to say, if you're new to motorhoming, you're thinking about selling up for life on the road or going full time, I would say, if your relationship's got cracks, this isn't going to solve those cracks. Take off the rose-coloured glasses and forget the romantic dream. You need to be realistic about what it can be like, and you need to like the person that you're living with. God, do you know what? That's probably the most important and sort of prominent point on this topic is liking the person. And you know, thankfully, it's amazing I think we're still here. We like each other. Yeah, it's a really good point. Yeah. Right, we had to take a little break. We have a big dog here.
He's
he's gorgeous.
He's lovely, and he's been with us for a while. And every now and again, he needs feeding. He lets us know. So yeah, we otherwise
he was trying to get up the steps, and he would have started howling.
Yeah. Anyway, question 4. Do you miss the 9 to 5? No, definitely not. I can say that sort of 4 years down the line, but I did when we first left. I mean, I worked in the New Forest. I worked with a great bunch of people, and I really enjoyed my job. And so yeah, I missed it a lot. There was a sort of, I got to the Sunday night, and I actually look forward going to work.
Yeah. I was
not
exactly
like
the opposite.
Yeah.
I hated the Sunday night feeling, and I had grown to really dislike my job. There was a lot of responsibility. I didn't really like the people I was working with. So for me, it was a really good time to move on. But the funny thing is, we left to get away from the rat race, and although we're not in the rat race, we've sort of carved out these full-time jobs for ourselves by YouTube and running a website, which has morphed into 2 websites, and so we work, but we're not in the rat race, and I think they are 2 very different things. And I think work has a place because it brings purpose, gives you those highs and lows that you need to feel alive. But I have no regrets about not going to work anymore.
I love the next question. I've got a couple of good friends and old work colleagues, and they're like, "What do you do all day? What? You've been away for years. You're a bum."
Sunbathe and.
And the truth is that we are so busy. There is never a dull moment. And honestly, we get up in the morning. We have routine. Of course we have. And if you do this, you'll understand. You've got to empty the toilet. You've got to. You still have to shop. You still have to wash the clothes. You still have to. We research to death. Places to go.
Yeah.
All sorts of things. And there's always a little job in the truck that needs sorting out. There's life, really, just.
There is, but when you're in a different place every couple of days as well, just going around the supermarket can take twice as long as it would do at home. Having to, particularly when you don't speak the language, you've got to work things out. And
you got to find water. You got to, dump your waste sometimes. You've got to do all that sort of stuff. So it all takes time, and before you know it, it's lunchtime, and then it's time for a glass of wine.
We've yeah. We must be nearly there yet.
Not quite.
No, okay.
It's a couple of hours yet. Right, next question. Question 6 is probably more Izzy's bag.
Lots of people say to me, lots of my girlfriends say, how do you wash your hair? What do you do about your nails? All that sort of stuff. And I have to confess, probably like lots of people during the pandemic actually, I don't shower every day, and I don't wash my hair every day. I used to, but now I wash it maybe twice a week. I don't think I've used a hairdryer since we've been on the road. I just let it dry naturally, and Phil cuts an inch off it every couple of months. He's my Vidal Sassoon. You wouldn't know it looking at him, but he does quite a good job. So, if we're ever around a campsite, we do go and stand in a long hot shower for 20 minutes, but we don't do that in the truck because obviously we're conserving water all the time.
What I would say is it very much depends in the country you're in, the time of year. If it's really hot, we probably shower more in the summer than what we do in the winter, because you're out and about and you're sweating more, and it's maybe dusty and so on. So, there's a number of factors there with that one.
Yeah.
And I'm just a guy. I just quick dip, jump in the shower, and that's about it. I cut my own hair, and that's it. It's easy. Question number 7. Do you have any regrets? Now, we sold up. We literally, everything we had, we spent 50 years getting to a point where we had a gorgeous house, we had nice cars, all the trappings, and it was a nice lifestyle. But we just got to the point where we thought, well, is this it? And we love travel. We had lots of nice holidays, and it was always about the next holiday. And
we used to come back, and we'd usually be on a road trip somewhere, and we'd get to the port in Calais or wherever and say, where can we just run away? Where should we go? And suddenly the dream had come true, I suppose.
We had comms in the helmets, and Izzy used to always say to me, "Did you fancy just turning right here? Let's head south and
let's just disappear." So no, I don't think we have any regrets. I think what we are enjoying what we're doing so much. How could we? We're living the life that we want to live, and yeah, it feels good.
Yeah. Right, question 8. Do you feel safe? And I can honestly say, and all the time we've been away for 4 years, and I can honestly say, in 4 years full-time travel, we've never felt unsafe, and that is the truth. I don't think we're naive. I think we love the wild camp. I mean, it's our sort of go-to. We've been away now for 7 months, and
You just said we've been away for 4 years.
Yeah, no.
You mean
okay.
on this sort of part, this leg of the trip?
This sort of leg, really. This year, effectively, we've been away, and we've probably stayed in a campsite for 6 or 7 nights in that whole time. And we've stayed in some really remote places. We never feel unsafe. You hear the odd car pull up. You might hear some people talking outside. You have a little look out the window.
Realise you're in a docking spot.
Yeah,
but I think overwhelmingly people have been friendly, approachable, kind, helpful. We even had somebody follow us up a road in Turkey to see if we needed any help, because he'd seen us driving backwards and forwards looking for somewhere to stop. And when we spoke to him, he said, "I bought this for you," and he gave us a kebab from the back of his car that he'd brought with him to welcome us to his town. This is what people are like.
Lovely guy. Yeah,
I would say. But there is one caveat. If we're parking or we want to do a city visit, we're going to a big city, we will find a campsite or a secure air or somewhere where we know the truck is safe.
Or park way outside the city and use a scooter to go in.
Yes.
It's just a fact. Vans get broken into.
Stuff gets nicked.
Laptops go missing, and and you only have to look and park for night in any city really across Europe, and it's just a given. Sadly, it's one of those things. So, but to answer the question, we never feel unsafe. We haven't done it in the whole 4 years.
No, agreed.
Right, question 9. It's about planning. It's about where to next. People say, how do you decide where you go and where's the best place you've been, and all that sort of stuff. And I think there's probably 2 parts to that. There's sort of short term, and then there's the sort of the longer term, the longer vision, if you like. And I think it's influenced by social media. It's influenced by people we meet on the road.
Well, sometimes it's just there's an amazing park up that we've read about on Park for Night, and we decide that we'll plan that into our journey. Yeah. But normally that sort of thing is 2 or 3 days in advance. Whereas we always have a plan for what's happening next year, what's happening for the next decade.
So a really good example is next year we were meant to go to Iceland, and we've actually put that on hold because of the cost of fuel.
Well, the cost of the ferry has gone through the roof.
All the costs. I mean, Norway's expensive anyway, and so we thought
Iceland is expensive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we just thought, right, we'll put that one on hold, and so there's a good example in terms of different influences.
Yeah.
That can determine sort of where you go. Security. We wanted to go to, in terms of remaining flexible. We're meant to go to Baku in Azerbaijan, and the land border was meant to open. It was closed because of COVID, and it was meant to open on the 1st of May, and that got pushed back to the 1st of July. So in
between that time, we went to Armenia, which I'm really glad we did because we loved it.
Fantastic.
But it wasn't in the plan.
So we came back into Georgia with the view just before the 1st of July, hoping to get into Azerbaijan, and they said no, it's pushed back again until the 1st of September. So it's quite a fluid sort of environment. The beauty is, so you've got the capacity to
go wherever you like, whenever you like.
Yeah. So, and then we've always got the sort of the dream. So we want to do the Americas. We want to do parts of South Africa and Namibia and sort of Zimbabwe and that sort of thing. And so there's no detail in that. That's just like an aspiration to do that. So lots of influences, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Question number 10. It's quite a good one, actually. It's maybe not the best one to end on.
No.
But what do you do? How do you manage when things go wrong? And what I would say to that is, I think if you accept from the off, especially if you're new to motorhoming, things will go wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
Without question. It's just vans, trucks, motorhomes, they're not designed to be lived in, particularly full time. And so it doesn't matter, you know, we had a gorgeous new Cartago, all the bells and whistles. It was a beautiful van, but things did go wrong, both on the Fiat side and with the coach build side. I wouldn't say anything major, but you know, little door catches and various bits and pieces would fail. And you've just got to sort of think, right, okay, it's happened. It's about how you deal with it. And so
I think Phil's military background makes him really resilient to stuff like that. I find it a little bit harder. I've had a couple of meltdowns because we had a blowout in the truck, and then, you know, very shortly after that we had a flat tyre. Then we had a problem with the brakes, and it sort of felt like everything was conspiring against us. And it made me a little bit nervous for a while when we were on the road. But you get past those things.
Yeah.
And I do accept that, you know, things will go wrong, and as Phil says, it is about how you deal with it. It's about being adaptable, making sure you've got a little slush fund somewhere, particularly cash, because a lot of the countries we're travelling in at the moment, they work best on cash.
Yeah. I would actually say you need a cash slush fund in the region of sort of £3,000 to £5,000. And the reason to say that is, we actually had an experience where we've had a couple of times where we've had a problem and the garage would only accept cash. We actually went to a MAN service centre in a big city, Trabzon in Turkey, and they didn't have the facility to take a credit card. I had to jump in a car with the guy, go to like one of their
affiliates
partners, and sort of pay them in a roundabout way. I couldn't believe it. So what I would say is, you know, countries like Turkey and Georgia and
Morocco.
Armenia and Morocco,
They operate on cash.
you know, if you present a credit card, you know, they'll just look at you. So, and if you're limited in how much you can take out, yeah, you know, you could have a problem.
Yeah.
So
that was question. So there's nothing like ending on a high note, is there? Talking about things going wrong.
That is true.
But these are the things, you know, everybody wants to know the answer to these sorts of questions, and hopefully it's helped. A lot of the stuff we've talked about you can find on the website. We'll put links in the description below. If you've got any questions yourself that we haven't covered, drop us a line in the comments. We're always happy to respond and answer as honestly as we can.
Yeah.
Phil?
Do you know, I would just end by saying, you know, in a way there's sort of no right and there's no wrong, and there's so many ways. It doesn't matter if you're in a small, you know, we've seen some tiny little rigs, little Volkswagen Caddies, and people sort of living in them, estate cars. We've seen people in you know, £1 million trucks, and you sort of think, wow, great. It doesn't really matter what you're in. We're all trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, and people get sort of hung up in sort of, you know, whether it's van life or you're motorhoming or overlanding, whatever it is. I would just say, get out there, go and do it. It's not for everyone, but for some people, and certainly for us, we love it and just think it's incredible.
Yes,
so
agreed. If you've liked the video, please subscribe, click the bell for notifications.
Leave us a comment.
You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and you can check out the blog. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
I'd love to talk about sex, but as I don't have any experience of it, it's there's no point. I'd feel a bit of a fraud, really. So all I'd say is I just wish for a really stormy day, lots of thunder and lightning.
Is that question number 11?
yeah, definitely, yeah. But anyway, that's it. Right. Any comments would be appreciated, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.